There will be a lot of talk about death today. If that's something that you are not prepared to handle or emotionally just can't digest, understandable, might want to skip this one, and we'll see you on another episode. And we're back. Surprise fuckers, it's me, Peaches, here with Lauren.
Hi.
This was going to be a garden episode, but we decided to treat you guys with a garden episode as a podcast so you can see what we got going on over in the Patreon.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Love your recording space. This is beautiful.
Yeah, this is my husband's whiskey room.
Oh my gosh.
Lounges and relaxes, and
You guys have quite the collection.
this is all his.
Oh my.
I'm not going to take any ownership on that.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful here. If you didn't know that.
The only thing I can take credit for in this room is that picture on the wall. I took that in St. Augustine.
Oh, you took that?
I did, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't know you did photography.
So I dabbled in it when I was a teenager, very amateur things. Chris is a professional photographer.
Okay.
So after Hurricane Ian, we had to sell all of his equipment because it was a whole rigmarole. We had employees and we were trying to help people and whatnot. So he sold all of his camera equipment, and we were sitting at lunch one day, and he looks at me, he was like, I'm thinking about buying another camera. And he was super iffy about it. He was like, but I just sold all my things. And he was like, I really don't make time to do it. And I looked at him and I was like, I'll do it with you.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to do that with you. So now it's a hobby of ours, and he's shown me the ropes, and I'm learning things, and I think I'm getting pretty decent.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would concur, definitely.
That's Chris's favorite photo. He's taken the dollar bill in the drain.
Oh my gosh.
And then I believe either he took that sand one or someone gifted that to him.
Wow.
I want to say someone gifted that.
That's amazing. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm super stoked.
I love
like-
meeting you in person. Like, this is like just so cool. Like the
Right.
fun part of being content creator things is getting together with fellow content creators and like getting to know them. And it's like worlds collide. I know like some people think like, oh my gosh, like I love the both of you together. And I'll be like, oh, me too.
Right.
I don't know why. I just think that they think it's cool. We think it's cool too.
It is very cool. I'm having a blast right now. Like, even in text messages and like the voice messages, I can just tell that our vibe it meshes really well.
I love that.
It's awesome. I actually found you on TikTok. I want to say it was like a year ago. I don't know how long you've been on TikTok for, but it was your things I will never let my children play with as a mortician.
Yeah.
And it was the Orbeez video.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. They like the lists.
That lives in my mind rent free.
Good.
Right.
I hate water beads, the Orbeez, all of it. Not good. Yeah, I made that list. You know, it's so funny when I make videos, I don't think they're going to go viral. I just kind of make them like just for content, and that was one of the ones that did. People think that's so interesting when you deal with death and you have things that you just do or you don't allow in your house. And for me, it's just been so normal because it's always been a part of my life. Death has always been a part of my life. So when I make stuff like that, it's just so normal to me. And it's funny for me when people find it interesting.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just because we just don't talk about death enough. That's what makes it interesting. And so that's really what I've tried to do on my channel, is just to normalize that.
I love that. I can't remember her name on YouTube. She's a mortician as well.
She's like the OG. So that's
Yes.
Caitlin Doty.
Yep,
Is
that's
her name?
her.
Yep.
I love her. I found her years ago on YouTube. One of the first things I saw her talking about, I'm going to throw in a little disclaimer. So disclaimer for the beginning of the video, whomever's editing this. There will be a lot of talk about death today. If that's something that you are not prepared to handle or emotionally just can't digest, understandable, might want to skip this one, and we'll see you on another episode. And picking back up.
And now if you're still here, we'll continue the death talk.
Yeah. I found her a couple of years ago, and her first video I found her talking about was wiring mouths shut. Didn't know that was a thing. Was absolutely fascinated. And that was one of the things that kind of kicked off me wanting to look into mortuary school and whatnot. I regret not doing it.
Well, it's never too late.
Really?
Yeah, it's never too late.
How hard was it to get through all of that?
Through the school?
Yeah.
Super easy.
Okay.
Honestly, the hardest part was getting the prerequisites done before the mortuary schooling. I am not the best at math. I suck at math. I could read and write all day long. Math, I'm okay at chemistry. There is some biology and chemistry. But it was the prerequisites. I failed accounting like 3 times. Sorry, I spit a little bit.
No, you.
It's that accounting gives PTSD. I hated accounting. It did not click for me. And so I ended up having a girl help me. Like I took it online and we'd meet every week and she'd help me because I couldn't figure it out. But once I got into mortuary school, like the classes, they were so interesting. You finally you really like get into your niche of what you're there to learn about. It's so interesting. I loved school. I miss school. Some states have a 2-year program. Some states have a 4-year program. It just depends on if you're in the States and then what state you reside in. I got a 4-year degree. So I have a bachelor's degree in mortuary science. And some states now, I mean, you don't have to get a degree to be a funeral director or work at a funeral home. We need we call them support staff. So there are people that help us work funerals. There are people I might call them and say, hey, I need help going on a death call. Are you available? I need extra help lifting. There's lots of roles that we need help with that we as directors, there's just not enough hours in the day. And when you're on call at nighttime, weekend, holiday, it's a lot and we need helpers.
I believe that. Because death doesn't stop for anybody.
Death doesn't stop. Death is not convenient. It happens at all times of the day, night, holiday, weekend, doesn't matter, doesn't discriminate. It happens, and we have to plan around it. And that's a big part of the job. And also a big part of why I decided to stay home with my kids for now. So I'm not working full-time as a funeral director right now. I am home with my kids because I was missing out on a lot.
Yeah.
When you have to go at all times of the day, it's tough, especially when you have toddlers and young children. And my dad is also a funeral director.
Okay.
I'm still practicing at our family funeral home. And I remember growing up, him missing out on birthday parties and graduations and concerts because he was always working. And if you would have asked me when I was in school, if you would have been like, will you be a stay-at-home mom? I would have looked at you and been like, no, absolutely not.
Out of your mind.
I am an independent lady, and I will send them to daycare. And then you birth these children, you give life, and you're like, oh my gosh, and it just changes everything, your brain chemistry, everything. And life, a big part of this job is realizing how short life is, how quickly it can end. I mean, you could die driving to work, on your way to work. So it just really puts things into perspective, and that's why I decided to be home with them for now. That's
dope. You're already one of the coolest people I know.
Oh my gosh. I am honored.
You want to talk about the transition from that mindset of I'm an independent woman, I'm going to do it all, to being a stay-at-home? That's a crazy transition, isn't it?
It's so wild. It's so, when you are working, especially in a space that is predominantly older men, but my graduating class, there was like 20 of us and there was only 3 men. We were all women.
Oh, wow.
So the industry is changing and it will be a lot different. But for right now, what the industry looks like is there are women that own funeral homes, but for the majority, it's mostly men. They're older. They're usually white, not trying, just...
It's a fact.
It's a fact, speaking out loud. And they have done things a certain way for a really long time. And we're now seeing a shift in the industry of women. And so when you get into a space where it is predominantly men, older men doing this, you almost have to get into a mindset of, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to show up earlier. Because you have to prove yourself. I'm going to work later. And when you're on that grind, I guess I'll call it, it does wear on you.
Yeah.
And then when you try to have children and try to be the mother that you want to be, along with keeping up with the grind. I hate that I called it that, but now we're stuck on that.
When you think about it, that's what a grind is. You are wearing something down.
Yes. Okay.
And pieces of it are falling away because you're grinding at it.
Yes. So I guess that is pretty accurate.
It is pretty accurate, yeah.
So it's, I found myself just I was running too thin and running. And it was the hardest decision I have ever made in my life to take a step back from my career, to literally go from full-time to part-time to part-time, and then now just to being home. Hardest yet the easiest decision ever, because being a mom is, oh my gosh, my number one favorite job I've ever had. Like, these are little humans that we've created and given life to. And as I said earlier, when you do this job and you are just around death constantly, it does change you. It changes how you see the world. It changes, for some of us, it like numbs us to death.
I believe that, because you're not just handling people who pass away that are elderly.
No.
It's everybody.
I wish, and I hope this doesn't come off bad, but I wish all the deaths were elderly people, that they lived this wonderful, super long life, and they're, 99 years old and they passed peacefully in their bed. But the reality is that it's not that all the time. It's not unicorns and rainbows. It's very harsh realities. And you are meeting with these families that have just lost, like, their whole world stopped. And it's life-changing, especially when you do this every day.
I just had so many questions run through my mind. First thing I want to hit on is the fulfillment of being a mother. I'm going to be right back. I have something to show you.
Do you? Yeah. She left me alone. I am all alone. Oh, she's back. Here she comes. She can't run.
I feel really cool with this cape behind me.
Oh my gosh, what do you have? What is that? It's pink.
It is pink. It's a bear.
Oh,
So I took the children to Build-A-Bear this morning, and I never got to build a bear. It's something that I wanted to do when I was a child, and it was just never it was never in the cards.
Yeah.
I was devastated as a kid, and I woke up yesterday morning and I was like, you know what? Tomorrow is a Build-A-Bear day.
Yeah.
And we built the bears, and while building the bears, there's this little heart ceremony that you do. Have you ever built one?
No, I've never built one. I want to. We'll get there.
Yes. So it's a heart ceremony where you have the heart, and you rub it on your chest to give it love, and you rub it on your back so your bear always has your back, and you rub it on your head to give it knowledge, and you kiss it and all these other things. And our children were doing it, and at one point they both looked up at me to make sure that I was doing it with them. And I looked down at them and they're smiling up at me, and I got super emotional. I was like, oh my God, I'm having the moment. I want to get him little glasses chains like I have.
Yes.
I have an old pair sitting somewhere.
Oh.
But that was one of those super fulfilling moments for me. I could have been at work today. I could have been handling something somewhere else and going through emails or whatever. I would choose being a mom over anything else in this lifetime.
Yes.
It's so worth it.
You will never get to the end of your life and regret not answering those work emails and instead spending time with your kids. I will never get to the end of my life and think, man, I really wish I would have worked instead of staying home with my kids and being there for them. And now I also want to say that doing that is also a privilege, being able to stay home with your kids, because it is. But with that privilege also comes a lot of sacrifices.
A lot.
And those little moments are so special. I love the intentions that you're setting, that you're showing and that you're putting in the bear. Yeah. I think that's so sweet.
And after that, I don't know if you've heard, do you listen to the podcast at all?
I've been listening, while I've been getting ready.
So I have talked about prior, I don't know if you've heard this on the podcast or not. I've set up email addresses for the children. And I will send them emails of what we did today, or, today was a really hard day for you, but you overcame it. I'm so proud of you. So when they turn 18 or 21, I can give them the access to that email and they can go through their whole childhood.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yes.
Okay, I need to do that. That's amazing.
Right?
Because you're already on your phone.
Yeah.
I already had such a hard time with doing baby book stuff. I feel so, you do good with the first one, and then you go to this, the second kid, and you kind of lose the.
Yeah.
But an email, we're already on our phone.
Right.
You could send pictures along. You could with the email. Oh, that's so cool. I love that idea.
And that's exactly what I did. I took pictures of all the bears and I sent it off with the email, so when they're older, they can look back at it. I also email them, when I'm having hard days. And I explained to them how I process this hard day. And, with the children, you guys are always up my ass and it's nonstop. And I was super frustrated, but we all stood there and we took deep breaths and you guys helped me calm down. And I'm hoping that when they're older, they can look back on those emails and get parenting tips out of it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And life experiences and whatnot. On to my next train. We're jumping from one to another because I had like rapid fire. So you said that a vast majority is not elderly people that pass away. What are some of the like most causes of death that you've seen?
So that depends on where you're located.
Okay.
So a lot of times when you are in small communities, you might have it is what it is. We have drugs and things that people get into, and so we will have a lot of young people. Not a lot, but we'll get a handful each year that die from drug overdoses or car accidents or cancer. It's hard to just pinpoint one. They kind of come in waves. We might get a couple of one type, and then we won't get that for a whole year, and then maybe we'll get a whole string. You know, it depends. Sorry, that's my mother.
No, you're good.
That's my own mother.
Yeah.
So it really just depends. It depends on a lot of things. If you're in a big metropolitan area, you might see a lot more different types of cases, but that doesn't take away the experience from small town too, because a lot of crazy things can happen in small towns as well.
It sucks hearing that there are so many young people that OD.
It's not talked about enough. Another thing that is not talked about enough, I've done a lot of they're called corner calls, or I've noticed a lot of things lately where people don't really understand that funeral directors, morticians, we call them corner calls. It's not like CSI, where the CSI, I mean, they might have that set up like in big cities where the medical examiner shows up and then they bag the body, they tag them, and then they bring them back to the medical examiner's office for the autopsy. But a lot of these county corner offices, they don't have the equipment to do the transportation, nor do they want to have the insurances or the...
Oh, wow.
So what they do is they contract with a funeral home, with a transportation service. So then we show up and we help them. So they might need me to help them take pictures, help me roll them around so that we can maneuver them so they get the documentation they need with pictures.
Wow.
They might need help getting them in the bag and then to my van. And when you go on these scenes, you are going to see a lot of different types of circumstances and deaths. And one of the big ones that people don't talk about enough is suicide.
I believe that. That
was the really, really big eye-opener for me. I had no idea how many people take their lives every year. It is not talked about enough, and it is I wish we talked about it more.
Have you seen an increase in that over the years?
It hasn't slowed down, I would say. I mean, that is the number one call I would say we get called for will either be drugs, mostly suicides. That was a really big eye-opener for me. And then accidents, car accidents.
So that's like the top three.
I would say that's the top three.
That's devastating to hear. Holy shit.
They're not good. They're usually not the good kinds of calls that you go on.
Yeah.
So that's why I always have so many stories, because I have seen so many different types of scenes. So as hard as that job is to do, the reason why I did it for so long is because you get so much experience. Like as a funeral director, as a mortician, you get to go on all these different types of calls and see so many different types of things. And I'm going to try to explain this. Each death scene is different, and there's different ways you have to go about removing that person from how they died, placing them in some sort of bag or on your cot, and then getting them back to the funeral home. There's like a skill set. You'll show up to a scene and the police officers, sometimes, not always, will look at you and they've got deer in the headlights. They don't know what to do. They're looking to you to direct them on, all right, you take the head, you take the foot. There's a lot of trial and error, and it's like a skill set that you acquire. And each death call you go on, it just gets a little bit better, and you get a little bit more experience. So it is a good job to do if you're looking for that experience. In a lot of places, you don't have to be licensed to go on corner call.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like locally here.
Yeah.
they're looking for people. However, it doesn't pay enough. It was like $15 an hour. I would not do that job for $15 an hour. Except when I was in college, I think I got paid like 11. But I was in college.
That's crazy. I'm over here getting ideas now. Be like Batman, but peaches.
Peaches. Peaches.
Sorry, I'm coming off the tail end of a sinus infection. I have that post-nasal drip going on. I feel absolutely disgusting.
My husband's got that too.
Yeah. That's a lot to think about. I never thought about that kind of skill set. That's never crossed my mind when thinking about being a funeral director and dealing with the dead and whatnot.
A lot of people die in very small areas of their home. It's really weird. So you might, a lot of elderly people, or if there might be a drug overdose, they start to not feel well. So they might walk to their bathroom. Bathrooms are really tiny spaces sometimes. I mean, some people have really big bathrooms. I've been in a lot of small ones where the door doesn't open all the way. And so you really have to get creative and just kind of get in there and do what you need to do so that we can get this done quickly and then we can go home.
I just had a whole image of you like trying to like jump up on a sink to shimmy your way in through a door.
Yep.
And it happens.
Yep.
Wow, it's accurate.
There was a bathroom where I was the only one that could fit in there.
Wow.
So then I had to get my Lauren muscles out, do what I need to do so that we can clear a little bit of a door, so somebody else could potentially get in there with me. And you use what is available to you. If there's like maybe a bath towel, a bath rug, something that we can shimmy things in different areas so that we can, there's a lot of skills that goes into doing this job that morticians, funeral directors, they just don't get enough credit for and everything that they acquire on the job. Wow. Embalming's a big process too. Lots of on the job.
I believe that.
Learning.
Why did embalming become a thing?
I don't, there's so much history with that. I've looked into, the Egyptians and how we learn about that in school. We learn a lot about, different cultures. We have specific classes for different cultures. We have classes for history, and they talk about the Egyptians, but they also talk about the wars. Like when the Vietnam War was going on, or they have to get their bodies home, World War I, World War II, and so they did a lot of embalming, but they used really harsh chemicals. So it's throughout history, there's lots of instances where embalming has been present, and today I would say it's probably not all that much different. Other than the Egyptians. We're not taking your brain out through your nose, but
How cool would that be, though?
That would be so cool.
Right?
That would be so cool. But unfortunately, we are not.
After, researching the embalming, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't want my body to be preserved in that kind of way.
It depends. I have a lot of people say that. I would say most young people will say, I don't really want that done to my body. But what I have found is that if we die when we are young, so if let's say you were to die in a car accident, your family might want to say goodbye to you one more time. So sometimes we just kind of have to change our mindset and think about, as much as funerals are for the dead, they really are for the living, so that we can have a chance to say goodbye. So I too will say, I don't really want to be embalmed because I know that whole process. I would rather not be poked and prodded on, especially after I die some crazy way, if I ever do. Never know. But I've told my husband that if they needed that closure, if they needed to see me in that casket, I'm not going to haunt them and say, how dare you? I mean, if that's something that they needed, then I'm not going to feel anything after I die anyways. So I think
that's a really good way to look at that.
I think it's just all about mindset. And when we have people that die that are younger, families sometimes need that closure.
Death, I've always viewed death as such a beautiful thing. Even, of course, there's very horrible ways to go out. There are countries that dig up the dead.
Yes.
And bring it to their homes and clean them and redress them, and
I couldn't do that. But but I do find that really fascinating to learn about the whys and the hows. I'm so into all of that stuff. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Is that I forget what that is called, that practice.
Me too. I can't remember what country does it. I want to say it's every 7 years that they do it, where they bring them out and
they're pretty well preserved.
they really are. Yeah, they're not. They almost look like Egyptian mummies with how
Yeah.
they're mummified.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Why do you think that America is so afraid of death?
I was listening to a couple of your podcasts and I thought that the point you were talking about on one of the previous ones about how we as a society, like we as a country, we've really gotten away from family time, or maybe we're just too into our devices, or I think that I mean, a lot of people don't have as many values, or faith isn't very centered as it used to be. I don't know why, but it just, people are living their lives how they want to. And I think that a big thing about death, and I say this a lot, but it's so true, is that death doesn't feel good. It's not, and that can even come back around to when we have to pay a funeral bill. Like, a lot of families don't want to pay one. Well, it doesn't feel good to pay one. You're not having this $1,000 bill and feeling good about it or going into debt about it, versus if you go buy a new car and you get in that car and it smells nice and you're like, even though you have that monthly payment, it's like it feels good. Death doesn't feel good. And as a society, we've kind of taken those things that don't feel good and we've stopped. We don't really talk about it. We don't make it a priority to talk about. And I think in a society where we're so attached to our phones now and we're looking for that next dopamine hit, we're always looking for serotonin. Death is just not in that space of serotonin to feel good, dopamine to feel good. It doesn't feel good. And so we've kind of just, we just don't talk about it anymore. I don't think anybody will ever be able to pinpoint the exact why.
Right. There's too many.
There's too many different outside factors, and that's just my opinion, but I think that's why.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And now I'm also over here questioning, like, there are people scroll for a dopamine hit on TikTok. I get more of a dopamine hit seeing other cultures respect their dead and that whole process, even watching like understanding embalming videos or the process of that kind of thing. I get more of a dopamine hit out of that than a vast majority of things on the internet.
Me too.
Okay, so I'm not the only one.
No, so I get called weird a lot, but I'm like, being normal's overrated.
It really is.
I love learning something new. I love
it's so fun.
Cause and effect. I love all of that. And I also like listening to podcasts and stuff too, to get to, because short form content is nice, but the long form content is really nice too.
It's engaging. Yeah. How do you feel about murder mystery podcasts?
I got to get into them more. I used to really be into it a lot. I used to just like play Netflix on the background and then, go about cleaning my house or something. Yeah. And I need to get into, you'll have to tell me some good ones if you've,
okay,
if you recommend.
I got you. I've actually started a murder mystery segment. So there's the garden and then there's a Black Rose subcategory, I suppose, of the garden where I'm going over murder mysteries and it's specifically focusing on women. And right now I'm covering the Gypsy Rose case.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
You haven't heard of Gypsy Rose?
No.
Do you want to talk about Gypsy Rose?
Tell me what's going on.
Okay, so Gypsy Rose Blanchard, her and her boyfriend conspired to unalive her mother.
Oh my gosh.
And they did it. They went through with it. It's a whole thing. This whole case is wild. I meant for it to be a single episode. I'm thinking now it's going to be 3 or 4 parts.
Oh my gosh.
Because there's so much to it. Her mom had Munchausen by proxy.
Oh.
So she had everybody, including Gypsy, thinking that she had leukemia. She had to be bound to a wheelchair. She couldn't walk because of muscular dystrophy.
Is that the one they made the horror movie about? Or was it based off of that?
Hulu made the act after it. It's a TV series.
Okay, because I've seen some clips on TikTok of this girl and like her mom was trying to keep her in the wheelchair and tell her she was sick.
That's it.
And the main actress, she's from American Horror Story.
Unless they're, oh my gosh, are they making a movie about it?
I saw it. I think it's already out. Okay, we'll have to.
We'll have to look that up. But the whole thing is crazy, and the psychology behind all of it. I'm really fascinated by human psychology. There is, people are just wired differently, and there's cognitive biases and traumas and life experiences, and two people can go through the same horrific event and have two different outcomes in their mindset because of it.
Yep.
Just so fascinating to me. And Gypsy was raised by a pathological liar. So she was raised to be like the perfect liar. And throughout this whole case, we can see the lying happening. After they unalived her mom, they paid for a taxi. And in the taxi ride, she was like, yes, this is my older brother, when in reality, it's her boyfriend. Like, why would you lie about that? And getting a hotel room, they're lying, oh, yeah, there's only one person in the room. It's just me. Don't worry about it. Like, why lie about that kind of thing? And going into her interrogation, she cops to the murder plot, but then continues to lie, well, I had no part of it. I had no idea. I never asked him to do that. When there's text message proof.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just, it's crazy to see.
So how did
everything.
they do that to the mom? How did she die?
17 stab wounds.
Oh, the boyfriend came in and did that?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. It's wild to me that somebody could talk somebody into doing that.
Right. And he, in his police interrogation, he said, I would have never have done it if she never asked me to do it. Yeah.
Like I have a hard time like having my husband get out of bed to go get me a cup of water. I can't imagine trying to talk somebody into murdering somebody else.
I feel so bad looking at my husband on the couch like, hey, can you go get me a drink? Like, sorry, I'm a lazy piece of shit right now. Can you?
And like there's somebody, yeah, that's wild. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Wow.
How many, I don't know. Hey, babe. Yes, ma'am. How many times can we say murder before we get in trouble on YouTube?
Oh yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff. Can
we bleep it?
AJ can.
Let's have AJ bleep it. He's getting paid. So how many murder cases have you gone to?
You know, it's hard to say because sometimes I will go and they don't tell me.
So you just show up to some gruesome scene.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
wow.
I've had one where I had the family come in and it was, I thought that the individual had taken their own life. And so the family came in and we sat down and we were planning the funeral and they looked at me and they said, you know, our son did not do this to himself. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, no, he was murdered and we can't prove it. But it looks like he did it to himself, but he didn't. And at the end of the day, the autopsy was done, but nobody was ever, I think they might have put it down as inconclusive. I don't remember, but I've had quite a few, I guess. Now that I say it out loud, where people have been, there's been quite a few.
Yeah.
I don't really, I don't think I've had anybody ask me that before, where they're like, how many murders have you?
Oh.
How many, we can't say murder. How many times can we say murder?
Was that a strange question to ask? Now I'm kind of self-conscious. Was that too much?
No,
Okay.
no. I always get so, I always try to be so careful about what I talk about and to sit here with you, like I'll talk about anything.
Is there a reason that you try to navigate it?
I would say the reason why I'm so sensitive to talk about it is it's a tough thing to talk about. And a lot of people, especially on TikTok, like I used to do a lot more Q&A content, but it would get reported and then taken down. So, you can't even say the word death in a TikTok. I couldn't even have like...
Really?
Yeah, stuff will get censored. So the reason why I'm so careful to talk about it is censorship, really.
Have you read 1984?
No.
You should read 1984.
Wait, 1984?
Yes.
What's that?
It's a book about Big Brother and just the censorization of speech reminds me of 1984. It's pretty much all government control and taking away the power of the people and censoring speech. And you can say this, and if you say this, consequences.
That's like what's happening on TikTok.
Yeah. Have you done a deep dive? I don't know if we can talk about North Korea.
No, I haven't done a deep dive on. Oh, you mean like how they censor stuff so bad?
Just everything, their propaganda.
This has got to be the most random podcast you've ever done.
Maybe it could be.
Death to North Korea. But yeah, they are so censored there. Like,
yes,
they can't talk. Like, they'll kill you.
And they'll do it through generations. Like they'll wipe out a whole family through generations to make sure that their bloodline cannot be continued.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
that's scary.
I always butcher her name when I say it. I might actually be saying it properly. I have no idea. Her name is Yeomi Parks. She is a North Korean defector. So she escaped North Korea, I believe, when she was a teenager with her mother. Her whole story is absolutely insane. The things that she witnessed over there blows my mind. And hearing her say that what's happening in America right now is paralleling how
Oh, that's scary.
things started over there.
Oh, that's scary.
Yes. She is someone who has lived that shit.
Oh.
And people want to go, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yep. It comes back to what she has to say doesn't feel good. People don't want to think about the fact that that could happen here.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of ties back into death. People don't want to think about that we all could die in the most craziest ways possible. They just want to go about living their lives and blinders, we're just not going to talk about it.
You said that car accidents was top 3.
I would say, yeah.
There are times where I'm driving and I'm at a red light and I'm just tootling about the town, and I'll look over, and almost every single time that I look over, somebody is
Yeah, it's even worse now.
at the wheel, at the red light. And I have watched people where, like, I'll start going, I'll go over, and the other day, this girl had her leg propped up on her side door, so she had her leg up to her chest, driving with one hand, phone on this hand, just going through this green light, absolutely casual, strolling. Scrolling. I said strolling.
Scrolling.
It's a mental stroll, I guess.
That's, yeah.
Terrifying. That was terrifying for me to see. I know that when you would get onto scenes, they won't like disclose everything. Are you able to tell when someone was a distracted driver?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Snoopy, so in the medical examiners, when you get to know them, they will kind of give you like the details and stuff. And a lot of times, this was kind of before I have seen, but a lot of times, gosh, I can't even talk. I can't even say it. A lot of times I have seen people where their cell phones don't close out, or they had a flip phone and they were typing and they had started a text, and they crash. And then we find the phone and the medical examiner puts it in as evidence because the family's going to want that phone back. And then who takes the evidence back to the morgue? Me. Not that I'm looking, but I mean,
Right.
It's open. They don't shut it. They don't close it. And I've had people's cell phones go off as I'm bringing them back to the morgue. I cannot tell you how quickly my soul leaves my body when I hear that cell phone ringing. And it's right here, and I can't answer it, nor would I want to. I mean, what would I say?
Right.
But distracted driving right now is a huge, huge thing. If you are driving, you cannot be on your phone. Everybody else is on their phone. Everybody. You have to be defensive driving all the time, especially if you've got your kids in the back seat. You cannot trust other drivers. Everybody is distracted. It's so sad. It's so scary too. I've seen those. I had to rent a car the other day. Whenever I say the other day, it could literally be last year. But the other day I had to rent a car. And as I was driving, there was this setting on the car, and it would keep the car in the lane.
Yep.
I was flabbergasted. I'm like, oh, so how, when it was, I didn't have to pay attention to the lane, all I could think about is this is going to encourage people that they could be distracted on their phone. I mean, the car's going to stop for me.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at my phone and somebody hits their brakes, the car's going to keep in the lane for me.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually I feel like all these cars are going to drive themselves because people are just going to keep killing themselves.
My car, when I have cruise control on, it detects cars in front of me and it will slow down on its own now.
Yep. So it's just further, I don't want to say encouraging. Maybe encouraging isn't the right word, but it's definitely making us way too comfortable.
Do you think it's preventative measures
for texting and driving?
for texting and driving?
I think so.
Like, these
Wouldn't
dumbass
surprise
humans
me.
aren't getting the hint, so...
Wouldn't surprise me. They're trying to keep people alive.
Yeah.
It's scary to think how everybody thinks that they're invincible.
Oh, yeah.
They don't think that they're going to die. They don't think that. Sometimes I would really think about that. Like, for example, I've been on a lot of, like, every holiday without a doubt, we would have a motorcycle accident or a double fatality motorcycle accident. Husband and wife get on the motorcycle. And I show up and I all of a sudden I have husband and wife in the back of my van and I'm bringing them side by side to the morgue. And I think about this couple. They were not planning on meeting me today.
No.
They were not planning on dying today. They were not thinking that they were going to end up in a morgue tonight. But our brains, we think we're invincible and these things won't happen to us. And the speed can take anybody out. Speed, drugs, alcohol, other drivers not paying attention. That's why it's so crucial. You got to look twice for motorcycles. Do not just gun it at that green light. You got to look both ways because you don't know who's going to run it, who's looking at their phone that's not going to stop. Because even though those cars have car detection, if there's no car in front of them, they might just blow through that light.
Yeah.
So we're in a society where we all think that death happens to other people, and it shocks us when it happens to us.
The whole motorcycle spiel that you just had, I remember seeing that TikTok of yours. You said something of the like, my husband and I have motorcycles. And before we got motorcycles, he asked me, do you want to ride with me or do you want to get your own? And I was like, well, I heard Lauren say too many times, get your own bikes because your children will be orphans.
Yes.
And that we each have our own motorcycle now. And the defensive driving, 100%. I am absolutely terrified of getting hit by somebody. Every time my husband leaves the house without me, I tell him, please pay attention to other drivers.
Yep.
I don't tell him to drive safe because I already know he is, but please be on the lookout for people not paying attention.
Yep. It happens so fast.
It does.
I've picked up so many people on motorcycles, crotch rockets. You check the crotch rocket, how many hours are on it. They just got it. No.
Wow.
They dump it. They even have helmets on. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. My husband, he, when we got our motorcycles, he said, I have never had the fear of someone going down on a motorcycle until I bought your motorcycle.
Oh.
Yeah. He's been in very nasty accidents. He almost lost his life in a motorcycle accident. He said, I never had the fear of getting back on a bike. He's like, but the thought of you being on a motorcycle and going down scares the shit out of me. I can't remember where I was going with that. That's gone.
That's okay. That happens to me all the time. But it's scary. It is scary.
It is.
I mean, that's why I won't ride one.
Mm-hmm.
But I am happy to hear that you have your own bike.
Yeah.
That you guys, because I should make another video about that as much as people don't really want to hear it. It is so much better for you both to have your own bikes. Yeah. And I hate to have that mindset. Like, I hate to tell you to think like that. Like, that doesn't make me feel good to tell you that. But it's, if something happened, hopefully it would only happen to one. And I hate that we have to think that way.
No, we should think that way. I would have never thought about that. I would have been like, I could have been passenger princess making my way downtown on the back of a motorcycle while my husband's paying attention. That means absolutely nothing when somebody else is on their phone driving a car. So don't feel bad for giving me that information. You, if anything, God forbid, does happen, you just saved our children, at least one parent.
Oh, give me chills.
So I also have goosebumps saying that out loud, and I'm trying not to cry.
When I was growing up, my dad's a funeral director. We mentioned that earlier. Yeah. He has this thing where me and my sisters are not allowed to all be in one vehicle driving somewhere.
Wow.
It gives him major anxiety. He does not like it. We will take multiple vehicles so that we are not all driving in one vehicle.
How many siblings do you have?
I have two sisters and I have a stepsister.
Okay, so there's 4 of you.
There's 4 of us, so we all will just drive separate. We don't drive together. I mean, if it's just the 2 of us, maybe, but not all 3 of us. We don't do that. And somebody's going to get on here in the comments and go, that is so morbid, but
it's the truth.
It's the reason why we don't do that is if we got into an accident. He has gone on accidents where all of the siblings die in a car accident. Drunk driver hits them. Maybe a deer came out on the road, they swerved off. It's happened on more than one occasion. And so we take multiple vehicles. We don't all ride together. And that's...
Yeah. And there are people who go, well, the convenience of riding together.
I know.
I'm going to say that having my life is worth having to drive myself somewhere.
So that was one of the things that, like, when we all got our licenses and stuff, we didn't all drive together. We made sure we all got our own vehicle so that we could drive separate.
I would have never have thought about that either.
There's a mom on TikTok. I see her. I don't know how many children she has. I would love to have her on my podcast just to talk to her. but she lost, I think it's 3 of her children because of a drunk driver. And she goes out to the side of the
I think
highway.
I know who you're talking about.
And I wish I remembered her username so I could say it, but I don't.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart every single time.
Yeah. I remember seeing her video, one of her TikToks. It was one of the longer format TikToks. I think it was like 5 or 10 minutes. And I was watching, I was just sobbing.
Oh, me too.
I could not imagine.
I feel so bad. I feel so bad. But do you believe in fate?
Fate? Yes. There was going to be a very long, drawn-out thought process there. The final answer is yes.
I do too. Even when things don't feel good and when we don't have the why.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's a terrible,
horrible
question that you're asking why to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of like those. Yeah. You see those things like everything happens for a reason. I don't know if I believe that. I don't believe that everything happens for a reason, but I think that some things are just meant to happen the way that they do, and we just can't stop it.
Yeah.
As horrible as that sounds and as horrible as it feels.
I want to tell you a story, but it's the complete opposite of what we were just talking about. It's actually
That's okay.
kind of funny. Talking about going down on a motorcycle, my husband and I also just got dirt bikes.
You just got dirt bikes?
We
Oh
did,
my
yeah.
gosh. Where are you going to ride a dirt bike?
We actually went out to Myakkahatchee.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So we were riding around out there. First time I've ever been on a dirt bike. I've never ridden one by myself. And we were tootling about, and I dropped the bike. So I curbed a boulder, and it was either I went down with the bike and seriously hurt myself because it was a decline, or I just let the shit go, and I let it go. And I was standing there with my hands on my hips, and I was like, well, if I drop the bike, that's not going to happen again, because I was anxious about it. It did happen again, and I went down with it.
Oh, no.
We crossed the road. Thank God it didn't happen on the asphalt, because I probably would have never gotten back on one again. It happened in the sand. My husband just assumed that I had the knowledge of dirt bike. I did not. One of those things that I had to learn the hard way was you don't hit like that sugary sand at a high speed.
Oh.
I did. And my bike fishtailed, and I went down with it. I skinned my knee, skinned my elbow, my left titty got it, my shoulder's killing me.
Not the titty.
Yeah. Like, and I was laying there, and I rolled over, and I ripped my helmet off, and I was like, I am not built to be an apex predator. Like, I was just laying there, and my shoulder's hurting, my elbow's hurting, and I feel like I just blew up my kneecap, and I'm like, I'm coddling. Have you seen that episode of Family Guy where Peter falls down and he's like, ah.
Yes.
I'm holding my titty doing that, and I was like, and I looked over, and my husband's nowhere to be seen. I was like, he has no idea. Of course, he was checking for me, and he saw that I wasn't there, and he came back. And I was just, I'm not built to really be anything scary in life. We are just bags of flesh walking around with a consciousness.
We really are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we are not invincible to anything.
Nope.
I could not imagine getting hit by a car. That's crazy to think about.
I've seen that.
I believe that. And just pedestrians, just people walking and getting slammed by someone not paying attention.
Yep.
Have you watched Sons of Anarchy?
Oh, an episode or two, not the whole thing.
So, I've been binging it. It's so dramatic. I feel like I'm watching Grey's Anatomy, but with motorcycles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen Grey's Anatomy. I had to stop, though.
Oh, gosh.
I
The
binged it
emotional
too
damage
much.
from that show.
I know.
I have to finish the last season. I can only take it in bits because I feel like I'm such an empath. I'm actually mourning these characters.
I know.
Like, Meredith lost her husband, and if that's a spoiler for you, catch up.
Yeah, I know. That's where I stopped watching.
Oh.
That's where I stopped watching. I haven't seen
my
anything past the
gosh.
Mr. McDreamy.
There's so much more. There's so much more.
I
Like,
bet.
I feel like they're sadistic. they're
everybody
getting
dies.
enjoyment. Right.
Everybody dies and everybody gets fired. Boom, there's Grey's Anatomy.
Right. But like with the death of Derek, it took me months. It took me months to get back into that show because I felt I was mourning the loss of a father to these imaginary children. And I was like, and now this wife has to go through life. And I was like, their love story, the way they came together, they finally, the plane crash, like, oh, None of it existed. It's all made up, and I mourned it like it actually happened. It's so hard.
I stopped watching before he died.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, because I read ahead because I'm like, where is this going? Where is this going? And I'm like, he dies.
Yeah. How could they?
But he wanted to get off that show,
He
right?
did, yeah. Can I spoil something for you in the show?
Absolutely.
There's a scene where she is being evaluated for her medical license because she did something that was unethical. Can't remember what it was. I believe it was something to do with a child. Like the child needed insurance, so she claimed to be the mom or something like that.
Oh.
To get the child insurance for their treatments. And the board of people who were deciding on whether or not she was going to keep her medical license was the doctor who killed her husband. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that whole episode destroyed me. Like, she had a massive meltdown in front of them. Yeah. That show's insane.
Yeah, they ruined it once he died.
Yeah. And
Is that show still going?
it is.
Oh my gosh.
It is still going. Actually, I believe that I just finished it. She's going somewhere. She's coming back to the show. Like, her daughter is very, very gifted. Absolutely intelligent. So she's taking her to a advanced school for like STEM programs and whatnot. So she had to move somewhere for that. But they say that she's coming back to the show. I can't believe I've seen all 17 or 18 seasons of this.
No, the only like seasons that I've watched all the way through is Supernatural.
Really?
Have you seen that one?
I have not.
Oh
I couldn't
my
get into
gosh,
it.
how could you not? This is the perfect time to start it. Turn off the Sons of Anarchy.
I believe I'm on the last, like the whole.
Okay, Supernatural
Episode.
time. Supernatural time. How could I've watched it twice actually all the way through.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. One, they're hot. I mean,
Okay.
some attractive young men on there. Yes, they're very dreamy. Better than Dr. McDreamy for sure.
I know that. What's his name? I can't even think of his Walking Dead name. Baseball bat guy.
Oh, yeah, I don't know his real name. but
Negan. In Walking Dead.
Yep, he's not in there for long on
No?
Supernatural. No,
Huh.
he's the dad.
I saw him in the first episode with the fire lady.
Yeah, you got to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're gonna hate me because you're not gonna turn it off. If you're into that,
I am.
supernaturally type of stuff, yeah,
I am.
it's
yeah.
really good.
I watched like A Haunting growing up.
Me too.
Oh, I loved that show.
Me too. I make content for Travel Channel.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, do you know when they messaged me and asked if I wanted to work with them? I'm like, okay, my
What do you do?
little me is crying inside because I would come home from school and watch A Haunting.
Yes. That show used to scare the shit out of me.
I know,
And
that
I
was the
loved
best
it.
part.
For the longest time when I had my flip phone, that intro saying was my ringtone.
Not the razor.
Yes, it was the Razor. I had the pink one.
How did I know?
That was, yep. And
I always wanted that one. Didn't have it.
that saying. I can't even remember what it was, but it was so deep and profound to me. I was like, yes, make it my ringtone. I love that show. How would you feel? Don't feel pressured to do this, but how would you feel about watching Supernatural with me and like making it content?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I feel like that would be a
absolutely.
lot of fun.
Yeah, they talk. I mean, they do death and stuff.
Yeah. And I like to get stupid stoned for things. So,
Really?
yeah. I have my medical card. I have extreme anxiety and depression and whatnot, so it helps reel me in. I also have BPD.
Was it hard to get a medical card?
No.
Oh,
No.
That's cool.
No. I didn't even need I have medical paperwork. And I was like, do you guys need any of this? They're like, no, you just come in and talk to somebody and
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, if you need medical stuff, apparently it's not that hard.
Yeah, no.
That's cool. I
the-
love that.
Them in there, when I was sitting down for it, they were like, we try to make this process as easy as possible for everybody.
That's really nice.
And I was like, you know what? I actually love that because there's a lot of cancer patients that go in there.
Yes.
People with Parkinson's.
Chronic pain.
Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I have my maintenance. Before I started going to therapy and before I got my medical card, I would make myself sick.
Oh.
Like I would wake up every single morning and the first thing I would do is vomit.
Oh.
And there were times that I had to call off of work. Like it was a hindrance to my life. But now I also get like the edibles and shit. So I like getting a little before I like watching in something I enjoy. So if you want to do the whole Supernatural thing, I get really funny when I'm stoned.
Okay.
I think we would have a blast.
I think we'd have a blast. Sounds like a great time.
Hell yeah.
Sounds like a wonder. We did just have a girls' night. Come over and we'll
Right.
watch
We
Supernatural.
can have some wine.
Oh
snacks
my
and
gosh,
whatnot.
yes. Immediately,
I'm
yes.
here for this.
Immediately, yes.
Have you seen the people who react to 90 Day Fiancé? Like they get super comfy in a bed and whatnot. I'm imagining that, but like a girl's night.
Okay, I love that.
I'm going to have to look at super comfy couches or something.
We'll plan a date. I don't know. This thing's pretty comfy. We can just push these in there.
Oh my gosh. We have, okay, so at the studio, we have TVs. We have these exact chairs.
Oh, they're so comfy.
I could have my husband pull it up on a TV. We could record the TV. We could stop it for commentary. And I think that's legal on YouTube to do that. Copyright, whatever.
Cool.
A lot of fun.
Okay, that would be so much fun.
Word.
The Garden 2.0. No, wait, no. We could call it the cemetery. The cemetery instead of the garden.
Oh my gosh.
I love that.
I'm getting goosebumps right now. We're doing the creator thing. Holy shit. Well, I'm getting sweaty. I got to take this off for a minute.
I was even going to ask you because I have my podcast, but it's so new. I'm like, maybe we could just like trade off. I'll come here 1 week. You come hang out with me 1 week.
The answer is yes to whatever you want to
whatever.
do. I'm willing to help you in any way that I can. If it's just my presence, word. I got you.
It's always fun to do stuff with other people. It's not
is.
so fun to do it by yourself.
I would have never done anything on the internet if it wasn't for my husband. I have so much fun doing everything with him. And the podcast started, oh my gosh, do you know the origin story?
I don't. I was going to ask you.
I will tell you gladly. So it started with Hurricane Ian. Mm-hmm. Hurricane Ian came. I was a body piercer. I was transitioning to being a stay-at-home mom. I was training my apprentice to take over. And Chris owns the tattoo shop that I was piercing at. Hurricane Ian came, destroyed 2 of our businesses. Oh. So we went from being a tattoo studio with 7 artists to 13 artists. And we kind of just got pushed out. So we had to make room for other people because at that time we had the funds to be a stay-at-home, for me to be a stay-at-home. Mm-hmm. Fast-tracked my apprentice. She took over everything on that end. So I became a stay-at-home. He had nowhere to go to work, so he was working from home. And we had a lot of free time, so we started making TikToks. And we were making our own individual TikToks, and people were enjoying us. And then one day I made a TikTok, and he came into the TikTok. And people lost their minds. They were like, oh my God, we had no idea you guys were together. This is amazing. I love you guys. And then from there, they were pushing for TikTok lives.
Okay.
So we started doing the TikTok lives, and the TikTok live started at like 5 or 6 people maintaining for an hour. And then it slowly started building, and people were like, you should do a podcast. And we were like, a podcast? Could you imagine a fucking podcast? And then we were like, I don't know, you want to try to do a podcast? And now here we are. Combined, we have a little over 2 million followers on TikTok. I think we just hit 140,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And it happened quick. We haven't even been a year on the podcast.
I love that.
I think December 17th is 1 year.
I love that.
Absolutely insane. It all started as a joke.
That's awesome.
And now,
sometimes that's how the best things start. I know that sounds funny, but
no, my brain just shorted a little bit because I just told you that whole story, and now I'm looking at a content creator that I followed for a year that I admire, and now we're interviewing. And you said, and you're like, you're so honored to be here with me, and I'm like, I'm honored to be here with you. It's crazy. Life is wild.
Life is so wild. Right? It continually gets wilder.
Right. Just crazy. And absolutely. Just insane thing after thing after thing.
And everybody somehow knows somebody or like is related or connected somehow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's wild.
Yep. We always joked that you talked about the connections thing. We always joked about getting Jelly and Bunny Roll. Bunny Roll.
Bunny Roll.
Jelly and Bunny on the podcast, or us having us go to them. It was always a big joke. And then we had Conservative Aunt on the podcast. And Conservative Aunt was like, oh yeah, I know them. And we were like, shut the fuck up. And like a week or 2 after interviewing him, Jelly Roll was like, oh yeah, I know them. I'm sorry, what? like the thing that we joked about is slowly becoming a reality. Mm-hmm. Like if by chance we ever do get to interact with them and have a conversation, like talk about an insane turn of events in a life. Absolutely
I know. And you know what's so fun? They are exactly in person how they are online. I love that so much. It's my favorite thing. Mm-hmm. She is adorable. She's so sweet, and he is so funny. And like we were filming her podcast, and we're sitting there, and And he calls her, "What are you doing, honey?" And she's like, "We're eating dinner." It's just like
I love
like online.
that.
It was so funny. It was so cool to see. Yeah, it's really. I think that's special. Just like I'm noticing that with you guys too. Just like what you see online is what you get.
Oh, I love that.
And I think that's really special to find, because when you start meeting people, you can find out really quickly that it's the other way sometimes.
You are the second person I've heard say that. Have you heard of the African hippie?
Yeah.
Her name's Wakenya. Love her name. Her name is gorgeous.
Yes.
Beautiful soul. I absolutely adore her. She was a lot shorter than I expected her to be. She's this little petite, like 5-foot fireball.
Yeah, that chair looked really tall.
Yeah.
I didn't know if the chair was just super tall or if she was a little shorter.
She is.
Petite.
She's like a spitball of a woman.
I love that.
Spitfire, whatever that saying is. But she said the exact same thing. She has met content creators, and they were just the absolute opposite of their online presence. I was like, I don't understand that. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of energy to put on a facade.
Yeah.
To create a character, to be something that you're not. And I worry about that. I worry about people meeting me and they're like, oh, like deflated, not what I expected. I that's genuinely something that keeps me up at night.
I overthink interactions. Like,
yeah.
I had a lady recognize me at Sam's Club the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Oh, you're the mortician lady." And I'm like, "Oh, hi." And I've got one kid screaming on my hip and then one who wants to leave. And I'm like, "I'm so sorry. It's so nice to meet you."
Yeah.
And I'm like walking away. And I wanted to like stay and be like, "Oh, it's so nice. You know, like really, it's nice to meet you." But I just couldn't. And then I overthink it every time.
Yeah.
Like, did I sound okay? I didn't sound mean, right? I don't want to come off mean.
I hope I wasn't dismissive.
Yeah, was I? I didn't want to be dismissive. She said hi. I wanted to say hello. And he goes, "No, he goes, you had a screaming kid. You're fine." I'm like, "Well, I don't know." Yeah, so no, I get that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How strange is it to be recognized?
That's wild to me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a little meet and greet at this like horror con
I saw that you
thing.
did that. Yeah.
And I didn't know if anyone was gonna come. I just did it, and it was so fun to have. They came like, "We came just to meet you," and I'm like, "You did," and it was so. It just made me feel really good.
I love that for you.
And I loved that so
Yeah.
much, to be able to interact with people, because it's one thing to have them all in a comment section, but then when they get to come and meet you, that was really special. So, but getting recognized in public is wild. And then when it happens a few times, then you start to get a little paranoid, because what happens is that I almost had to like come up with this: when they look at you, they look scared almost.
Yeah.
They're like, it's like a shock thing, and then I'm like, "Are you okay?"
Right.
Because their face is just so.
Yep.
And now I've come to recognize what that looks like, so it's not as like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" It's like, "Oh, hi,"
Yeah.
But it took a little trial and error for me to figure that out, that they were excited, so then I'll be excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'll ever get used to that.
Me either.
Because I was listening to your last podcast. I don't know if that was with Aunt, but you said like, we're just normal people.
Yeah.
And I feel that so hard, because we really are. Mm-hmm. We just make content and stuff.
Yeah. I think of a stupid thought. I'm like, you know what? That's kind of funny. I laughed at it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yep.
There was a time I was walking in for a doctor's appointment, and I signed in, I did the thing, and I sat down, and I looked up, and this woman staring at me crying. And she goes, "Oh my God, it's you. Like, I love your guys' podcast."
Oh.
And that was the first time it ever happened to me. And in that moment, I had like a rush of things like, holy shit, like we are affecting people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a positive impact. That was also one of those moments where I panicked a little bit, because I thought of like Single White Female. Have you seen that movie?
No.
So Single White Female, I want to say it was in the 80s. It's a movie that came out and actually put a really bad taste in people's mouths about borderline personality disorder.
Okay.
Because the main character is this woman who is obsessed with another woman in the movie, and she pretty much wants to kill this woman and take over her life. Like, she wants to be who she is, like be the woman of the boyfriend or the husband.
I think I have seen that, or clips of it.
Like she starts wearing her clothes. She gets the same haircut. She dyes her hair.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So that's what you start thinking, or you get paranoid about?
I do. I get a little paranoid about it. I also think about Christina Grimmie a lot.
Yes, I saw you talk about her too.
Yes. So I don't know. I bring that up a lot. It is a very real, genuine fear that I
was gonna say
have.
it's valid. It's
Yeah.
valid. You don't know, and especially with people just saying random things about you on the internet or something that you don't actually feel that way, but other people run with it and say that you feel that way, and then other people have this notion about you in your head, or you know, people are crazy. Some people are crazy.
And then you start getting death threats.
Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after receiving the death threats and thinking about those situations, do you know who Candace Owens is?
Mm-hmm.
I heard her talk about her stalker.
She's a stalker.
She had a stalker.
Oh,
I believe. Well, I think he's out of prison now, so he can resume stalking. But he full-fledged believed that they were in a relationship. Like she got pregnant, and he was emailing her saying, "I forgive you. Like we are destined to raise this child together."
Oh my gosh.
All of these kinds of things.
That Drew Barrymore. Did you see where the guy rushed the stage on her?
I did.
Yep. It's scary when you put yourself out there because you are on such a public platform, such a public thing that people can get attached to you, and unfortunately, sometimes that does happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's an added layer. We're women.
Yep.
That's a very scary thing. And I'm aware of my presence on the internet. I see it all the time in comments of men saying, "I wish I had her. He's so lucky to have a wife like her. I wish that was my wife." Things like that. And I am fully aware that there could be men out there that could be thinking that I want her, so I'm going to take her.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not out of the realm of reality.
No.
So that's why we're getting a guard dog.
And a lot of us talk to the phone like we're talking to them.
Yeah.
You know, and they might take that on a different level than other people might.
We created a To Be Better Life account to kind of like showcase our date nights and all those kinds of things. And somebody commented, "I love this. I feel like I'm getting closer to you." And I read that, and I know they didn't mean it in a scary way. I take it in a scary way though.
Yep.
Because that the parasocial relationships are a very, very real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as a content creator, that was my first thought. We gained a small mass of followers. Like I reached 100,000 on TikTok, and I was like, I'm very scared of this. And I started bringing it up to my husband. He was like, you have nothing to worry about, nothing to worry about. And we just kept gaining and gaining and gaining the followers. And of course, he's taking measures. Like we have full 360 view of our property. I knew you were here before you walked up to the front door. Like
I had a feeling you knew I was here.
And you know, I have my pew I conceal carry. We're getting the guard dog, so he's definitely taking measures to make sure that I feel safe, which I greatly appreciate.
Do you get the dog soon?
So it's gonna be about another 8 months of training.
You could cut that. Sorry, I wanted to know, and I was like hesitant because
No, you're good. We talk about it.
8 more months of training.
Yeah. So
Okay.
8 more months of her training. She's still a puppy right now.
Oh, you have to show me a picture.
We met her this past week. I want to say they drove her down, and we got to meet her. She is vicious already. They did a little bit of her puppy training outside so we could see what she was doing, and like
she's vicious already.
Yeah, like
So don't come break into Peach's house because the dog will eat you.
he had this leather thing where they want to train her to attack it. Like you have your goal, and once you get it, you do not let go of it. And she got it, and she was just, you could see her readjusting her grip on it to get deeper in.
Oh my gosh.
She is going to be
She's going to be a beast.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have a name?
Ivy. We were going down, if I had my way, I was going to name her Monstera.
Monstera?
Yeah. Like, it's my favorite plant.
Oh.
But we recognize that's too much to say. If I need to give her the attack command, Monstera is a mouthful. So.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, they say one syllable.
Yeah.
For dog.
So, Ivy.
Ivy.
Whatever. If y'all hear me speak in French, you better run. But I absolutely adore her. And right now they're not playing down her playfulness because that's what builds her confidence. So the next 8 months of training is kind of reeling in that playfulness and getting it down to the obedience of things and the training of the guarding.
So the dog, you don't even get to like have the dog here at all. It's just a training the whole time?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They make trips for us to see her and whatnot so she can get acclimated to our household and whatnot. But man, Dakota, he is a very, very good dog trainer.
Cool.
Yeah.
He's local to here.
No, he's not. They're out of state. They're I think one of the Carolinas.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So they made that drive all the way down here just for us to meet Ivy.
Wow.
Deeply appreciated, by the way. I
Very
had a
cool.
field day. I'll show you the picture. I'll show you right now. She's going to see something y'all can't. Don't scroll.
Oh, don't scroll. What am I going to find?
I enjoy taking booty pictures for my husband. So.
Oh, do you?
I do. So I don't know where they're at in the phone. Just be weary.
Oh, that's so. Don't scroll.
Yeah.
A lot of people might relate to that.
I learned that from experience. So I would rather say the don't scroll versus us having to make that eye contact after you see something you shouldn't.
I'm too paranoid to take photos like that.
Really?
I'm afraid someone's going to hack my phone.
I've been Baker acted and I've had 2 children. There ain't nothing here that I'm worried about.
I had a person in my inbox the other day. They're like, "Hi, I'm so and so from so and so company, and we want you to start an OnlyFans." And I'm like, "What? Yeah, we think you'd be great. Yeah, you'd be great at that." I'm like, "Do you know what I talk about?" Like, "Yeah, but we don't care. You just take the photos and the video. We'll run the whole thing for you. We'll talk to the men and everything that want to come to the page."
Oh my goodness.
Yep, we do the whole thing. We just need you to do the thing. And I'm
You're
like,
outing OnlyFans right now.
"Oh, sorry.
No, I had no idea.
I didn't either.
Holy
This just
shit.
happened the other day. Now that we're talking about booty photos.
That's good to know, though. That's good to know.
So you might not actually be talking to that girl you're following, by the way. Like you're paying to like.
No, they're not even posting the content.
No.
The girl that you think you're interacting with and receiving all these videos from, she's not even posting the shit.
No, they hire people to do that.
Oh my word!
I didn't know that until
Wow.
that was on my Instagram DMs.
That's crazy. I've gotten asked to be somebody's unicorn in my Instagram's DM.
A unicorn.
A unicorn. I had to Google it. I didn't know what that was.
I don't know what that is. Do
Apparently, it's a beautiful woman who can be the third wheel of a relationship. Yeah.
So you're the fun, the you come in occasionally for the fun and then leave.
The unicorn.
The unicorn.
Yep.
Okay, I feel like there's a different word for that.
I didn't expect it to be unicorn.
No, I think it's something else. I swear.
Is it?
I won't think of it. I won't think of it later either. I'll forget. But yeah, there's something.
Instagram DMs are wild.
I know. My, in between the death threats this week was the
OnlyFans.
The OnlyFans.
Crazy. They really are just capitalizing on everything that they can. Chris, in our life video, we or did I post it on my TikTok? I already know, guys, you shouldn't put hydrogen peroxide on wounds. I'm old fashioned. I did it anyway. I want to make sure there's nothing there. I don't want sepsis. I don't want some weird thing going on. People were commenting on the video, "No, don't do that." And I was like, "You're watching me do it.
Yeah,
you
it's
telling
too
me
late.
not to do it, it's not going to change what I already did, and I'm not going to stop doing it."
What happens if why do they say you shouldn't do it?
Because it kills the good bacteria there, which I know. As a body piercer, I tell people not to put hydrogen peroxide or rubbing alcohol or anything on their piercings because you want it to heal. This isn't a piercing, and this is my body. Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, if you ever want a piercing, I will come out of retirement for you.
I don't know what I don't. It's so funny.
I got you. For Thanksgiving, I'll be piercing my sister's lip. I did her tongue last year.
Oh, I couldn't.
And she wants her lip done this year, so I'm going to be piercing her lip when we go up there. I love body piercing. Body modification does it for me.
I don't have any tattoos either. I need a tattoo.
Since you just brought it up, Jeffrey Graham does he's going forward, does all of my tattoos. He's done a vast majority of my tattoos. He did my throat. He's done my
I love your
my
throat
sleeve.
tattoo.
Thank you. He did these guys.
Let me see that. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
We got that.
Yeah, I want something like that, like sleevey.
He will give you a $400 tattoo for free.
What?
Yes.
Really? Why?
Because you're you.
Oh my gosh, that would be nice. But I feel like I should pay him.
No. Well, we've mentioned you've never gotten a tattoo, and you are who you are. And
oh my gosh. Okay. Now I don't know what I want. I want something. I don't know what I want.
But think about it. And whenever you're ready, I can get you in contact with him. Follow him on TikTok, Jeffrey Graham's Tattoos. Jeffrey Graham Tattoos. You'll be able to DM him there, and you guys can go back and forth. And for those of you who don't already follow Jeffrey Graham, when he tattoos me, we both go live. You get a better angle of him tattooing me, though, if you go follow him. So, My next tattoo, I want to get a little pink croc with glitter because my daughter loves her pink crocs.
Oh.
So I'm going to get a little. I also want to get this. I have the triple moon on the side of my face from my pagan days.
From my pagan days?
I am, I don't know if you can say reborn because I was never of faith, but I found my faith back in January. So I want to get that covered up. I don't know what that's going to be yet. But when I get that done, we'll be going live on Jeffrey Graham's TikTok if you want to see it. I had a question for you. Now it's gone because we started talking about tattoos.
We went way off.
We
went
really
way
did,
off. But that's
yeah.
okay. That's okay.
Bringing it back to the death thing. Did you see... I'm saying, did you see, like, this was a massively retweeted thing on the internet. This might be a very obscure thing that you've never heard of. There was I want to say it was in one of the Chinese dynasties. One of the, I know they don't call them kings, but I'm going to call him a king. He had people's skin that was tattooed, preserved as art.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
Nope.
Oh, you said yeah, and I was like, oh my God, you did.
Nope. But that's a thing that's coming around right now.
Yeah.
And they have the funeral directors do it. It looks like a cheese grater, and we just and peel the skin comes off, and then we
Slice it off like that.
Yeah, slice it like cheese, and then you put it on a tray, and then you send it in, and then they
That's
preserve
very
it.
satisfying for me.
It is quite a satisfying tool.
I bet it is.
Instrument. They're gonna come at me that I said tool. It's an instrument.
Instrument. We do the same thing when people say tattoo guns as a tattoo machine.
It's a tattoo machine. It's a tattoo instrument.
So now I gotta know, do you have different size slicers? Because like people have full art on their back.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm-hmm. I don't keep those in like they'll have to send it to me.
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
they like over. Yeah, they'll send it.
Okay. Is that something you have to send back? Like it's on borrow? Is it a loaner?
Yeah, no, I bet they do not. No, do you know the reason I know that is because I very briefly had a job at a donation place, very briefly, and they were teaching us all about how to preserve skin and like for donation and tissues and muscles and bones. Yeah, that's
Bones
quite
for donation.
I would love to talk to you about that, but we'd probably have to do that off the thing because it's quite gruesome.
I love that you're willing to have gruesome conversations with me.
I will. I totally will. it's such a thing. It's like, I just get so worried about being censored.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll talk about anything that anybody wants to talk to. I mean, I'll even tell you my own opinion, but sometimes I just have to.
The censorship is insane.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me very uncomfortable.
You know, the other thing I don't like is that we can't have our own opinions anymore.
We really can't.
No.
We really cannot. Have you seen that Jubilee interview? I believe it was just called a trans debate.
I feel bad because single thing you say, I say no, that I haven't seen it.
No, you're good. You're a busy mom. I get it.
I live under a rock.
So Blair White, I follow Blair White. I adore her. People are going to hate me for that. Do it.
I don't know who that is either. But
She's a trans woman.
Oh, okay.
Very, very well hated in the trans community because she's a conservative.
Oh.
And she goes against a lot of opinions.
Oh.
So I
okay.
enjoy her. I like the way she articulates herself. She stands behind her opinions and she doesn't get pushed around by the internet. Mm-hmm. And I'm here for that. She was on there and they did the little debate. And there was an excerpt from that where somebody said that, what was it? Conservatives have an obsession about children. Like, I believe if you're the parent, you get to choose what you do with your child. Mm-hmm. And just that expert right there, I had a problem with as a mother. Minus the trans debate, everything going on with that's a problem for me. To call the concern of the well-being of other children an obsession is a very dangerous narrative.
Yeah.
Because I will die on the hill that anybody's child in my field of view is safe. I will stop anything I think could be harmful to that child. If I believe that me stepping in is going to protect that child, I will do it 100%, whether it be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is. To say that's an obsession, I feel feeds into that groomer mindset a little bit. Mm-hmm. That kind of paves the way for, well, if we can't look out for anybody's children because it's viewed as an obsession, then blinders. Mm-hmm. Not this one. And to say that you're the parent, you get to choose what you do with that child makes it feel like a fashion accessory. You don't just get to choose what you do with your children. There's a moral obligation there to do right by the well-being of that child. You just don't get to pick and choose. There are parents who choose to abuse their children.
Yeah, I mean, what did we talk that I can't say that proxy word that
The Munchausen by proxy. Yeah.
we talked about earlier.
Yep. People choose to do that to their children. So, and people came after me hard with that. I'm a transphobe.
Oh, yeah.
All of those kinds of things. And somebody said, you know, I really was a big fan of your guys' podcast. This is just so low for you. And what was it? I'm upset by this. I'm so upset by this. And I responded with a video and I was like, I don't care. I've hurt your feelings. Not one bit.
Yep. No, people don't like when you have opinions or
They
when you
really
state
don't.
something.
Especially if it's a differing opinion from their own.
And I think it's okay to have friends. I mean, for crying out loud, we all have family that has different views than us.
Yeah.
And I just, I don't care if you want to worship the Teletubbies in your basement on a Tuesday night. Like, that's your prerogative. That's what you can do. But I'm not going to hold it against you.
Right. Now, if you have people chained up down there with you and you're forcing them to watch the Teletubbies, that's a problem.
Then we might have a problem.
Right. That's when I'm going to start having some judgment and go, what the fuck are you doing?
That's not good. We're not going to do that. Right. Let's not do that.
I am all for people living their life, doing whatever they want to do to make them happy, altering their appearance, changing their name, whatever it is. If you're happy and you are not degrading other people or putting them down.
Absolutely agree.
Shit.
Absolutely agree. 100%.
You can drive an ice cream truck with a clown costume because it scares children and adults get a kick out of that shit and you're just selling strictly to adults. Word. I would buy ice cream from that truck.
Yep.
Oh man, I just made up something. Now I kind of want it to exist. Like a horror themed ice cream truck.
Just to scare kids. But
Not to scare kids. I mean, it will definitely scare children because they're going to think ice cream, but it could be like boozy ice cream. You need a liquor license for that though.
You know, it'd be cool. Have you seen those like pub things where you ride the bike and you get beer?
Oh my gosh.
But it needs to have ice cream.
Yes.
And be Halloween themed.
Oh yeah.
Beer, ice cream.
And we all pedal.
And we all pedal. There you go. And it needs an air horn.
I know that's a thing. I think it's in like St. Pete or is it Sarasota, Tampa, one of the big cities.
Oh, there's one around here.
Is there? Mm-hmm. I wonder if we could rent it out.
We could. I don't know anybody around here other than you guys.
We might reach out to people.
Oh my gosh, we could have a creator.
That would be fun.
Oh my
we
gosh,
could get
that would
Ant
be
to come.
so fun. That'd be so fun.
You know, Joe, FU Team Joe?
No.
Millennial, older.
I don't know anybody.
Elder millennial.
I know nobody.
We can get him down too. He knows conservative Ant.
Get them all. Call them all.
That would be so. We really have derailed.
Like, I know.
Yeah.
But this has been so much fun.
I am. I'm very much enjoying
I'm
this.
having fun.
I'm glad. I was super worried you were going to be here and be like, oh, this isn't what I thought it would be.
No, not at all. No. I'm so go with the flow. Like, it's just fun to get out, and I love doing podcasts. I love doing podcasts in person. Me
too. The Zoom calls, besides it being super iffy, like the quality dropping or someone's audio not working, there is a lack of humanity in it.
It's not my favorite thing.
Right. I have very much come to the awakening of I hate technology. I have been strongly contemplating getting rid of this thing and going back to a flip phone.
Oh.
I hate the access people have to me. I hate the instant access I have to YouTube and Netflix and video games on my phone. I catch myself every once in a while. I could be on my phone for 2 hours doing absolutely nothing.
I know.
I was like, I have plants I need to go take care of. I should be reading my Bible. I should be doing something for work. I could be cooking. I could be doing literally anything else to make me a better human being and make me feel fulfilled with my hobbies. And I just played some fucking trivia game on my phone with 40 other people because I'm smarter than a fifth grader. Mm-hmm. I hate it. And I hate the texting. I hate the phone calls. I'm a bad texter.
I'm a horrible texter.
I love that you are.
I'm horrible.
You'll go a day without getting back to me.
I know. I'm so sorry.
No, I love it because then there's not that instant, oh, she's waiting for my reply back.
Nope, never. It could be a couple days, no.
And we'll just pick up the same conversation.
Yep, like we never left it off.
I treasure that with you.
Mm-hmm.
It really does mean a lot to me that you don't pressure the conversation.
Nope. Because I so relate.
Right. And I appreciate the human interaction, the real life, like getting to see you, getting to talk to you. I don't know. There is a lack of humanity in things now because of technology and the VR. It's VR, yeah. I almost said VHS. The VR, the virtual reality, and like the metaverse. And have you watched Ready Player One?
No.
No. It's a futuristic world where I'm going to ask you another question, and the answer might be no. Have you seen in China, I want to say it's China, where they have the massive, like 200 floor buildings with just one room apartments for people to live in?
I've seen people do that on TikTok, or they show like where they live.
Yeah.
It's really small.
And it's really small places, and it's thousands of people all in one area. It's like that. And people have these homes where they live in, and their days are filled with them being on the internet. Their lives, they're standing in like this thing you can run in and it moves your character. Like you're moving where your character moves. You're doing everything your character does. You pick up something, you're picking it up in the video game. And that's their lives. And we're getting there now.
I know. Isn't
Like,
that scary?
Terrifying. We're being phased out of jobs. Like I've seen McDonald's on TikToks that's fully mechanical. Do you think death is something that could be taken over by machines? Like the whole process of...
No. There's so much that goes into it that people don't know. There's so much behind the scenes. I couldn't have a robot show up and close mouths and eyes because everybody's mouth is so different. I don't think there could be a robot that could dress people different sizes, shapes. I mean, people weigh varies so much differently. Embalming, maybe, but each case is so different. You might have to raise different arteries and different veins for drainage. I mean, there's so much to it that I don't think so. However, I could see cremation being more like I could see nobody's
Automated.
ever asked me that. Again, could a robot I don't think so, but maybe. Definitely not I don't think the embalming, but like if there was, a line and we had people that were in line to be cremated and like the robots did
an assembly line for death. I just pictured like we do that to cows.
And I'm thinking that for like cremation, maybe for robots. But
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, I've kind of seen that assembly line thing, but not for robots, not for where I've seen it is at like super large funeral homes, like these super big corporate funeral homes.
Do they have like a large population?
And they only have one facility that they do all the embalming at. And I had a girlfriend that was working there. And so I showed up, and her and I were going to go to lunch, and I walked in the back, and they had people on tables that were waiting to be embalmed. Like, it reminded me of what did I just say? The line.
The assembly line.
It reminded me of an assembly line. I had never seen. I mean, there was like 10 people, all naked, all on these tables, waiting in line to be embalmed. And I remember just seeing it. My brain, even as somebody that's around death all the time, I'm used to small town, one at a time, and this place is just a machine. I mean, it's just, you're just a number. You just in, out, embalm, wash, dress, done. And there's still so many lawsuits happening nowadays of funeral homes where they accidentally dress the wrong body. They accidentally put them in the wrong casket. They show up. That doesn't look like my mom. Oh, well, you haven't seen your mom dead before. No, I'm telling you, that's not my mom.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it happens a lot. If you Google it, I think you might be surprised how many lawsuits there are. And I don't know if it's like the disconnect with the technology, if people aren't paying attention, if we're just not having a good enough employees. Maybe they're not paying the employees enough to pay attention. I don't know.
Overworked and...
Lawsuits are a big thing in funeral service. You have to be so careful not to get sued.
I'm going to have to touch back on that lawsuit thing. I just recognize that I need to work on my emotional regulation a little bit. Because if I were at my husband's funeral and they hit me with, "You've never seen your husband dead," I want to punch them in the throat.
Wouldn't you want to? Yeah, so there's a funeral home getting sued for saying that. You've never seen your mom dead before. Excuse me? Yeah.
That was my knee jerk reaction.
Isn't that
real
horrible?
quick.
Yeah, throat punch.
Yeah.
Isn't that horrible? is death will sometimes just desensitize
Yeah.
you when you're you just they don't think. I used to work with a guy, and he should have retired a long time ago. And he would constantly say stuff, and I would go, "What are you, like, stop, like, put a sock in it, just stop." We ended up moving him to the back room just to do embalmings
Makes sense.
because he was so desensitized. He would say the most left field shit, and the families would look at him and go, "What did you just say to me?" And there's nothing you can, once they've turned off those feelings, that filter's just gone. I've even worked with medical examiners. Families call, "I couldn't believe how heartless they were," and I can't argue it. It does come off heartless, and all I can say is, I'm so sorry you felt that way, but just know from here on out that your mom's going to be treated with so much respect and so much love, and you will be treated like a human being here. And that's all you can do to reassure them that, because you are putting a lot of trust in these people, and when they turn off that filter and they just say the dumbest stuff, it can get frustrating.
And absolutely unacceptable. What I'm about to say is not defending that behavior at all. On the flip coin of that, I can understand why people get to that numb point. I mean, how do you deal
Very true.
with the worst of humanity that you're seeing and not have a mental breakdown every time it happens? Was that ever a conversation that you had with a client, not client, oh my goodness, I shouldn't say client, to a family that, "I'm so sorry that they said that to you. They have seen some really awful things and they're just so desensitized. They don't even recognize what they're saying could be offensive."
Have I had to say that?
Like, has that ever been a conversation?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was the family understanding of that?
No, they didn't care.
Wow.
No. Nope. I had a medical examiner. He was a police officer for so long, and he was in the military, and then he was doing medical examiner calls, and he should have retired a long time ago. And he would call to make notification that the death had happened, and the family was not happy with how he went about the notification.
Yeah.
And that is such a tough thing. Even if you say everything right, they still might not take it.
Right, because they're raw.
Yep.
They're so raw.
Yep, they're raw.
That's was it
problem.
Your mom again?
Yes.
Part of me wants you to answer it so I can tell her hi.
I just put it on airplane mode. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I'm sorry, my tummy's growling.
So is mine. Or mine's making noises.
Just in case it gets picked up.
I don't know why. I'm like I don't know why I'm looking around. Like, I'm like looking to see if it's gonna make a noise over here or over there.
We've been sitting here for almost 2 hours.
No, we have not.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes, we've been recording for 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Holy smokes.
That's insane.
Okay, well, if there's some death questions you want to wrap up with, or if I'm fine to keep sitting here. I mean, I don't have any plans, but
I think we'll wrap it up within the next 20 minutes because we're gonna have to eat dinner. We go live tonight.
Oh,
on YouTube. I very much enjoy talking to you. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that you are a very interesting person to talk to.
Thank you.
And I would rather sit here and talk to you versus watching television or something.
Really? That makes me feel good.
You are a very intriguing person. You have so much in your mind. You have so many different perspectives. You've lived a life that I've never lived. And it's like hearing the things you talked about, it could have been my life because I've looked into it. And you're just a fun person.
It could still be your life. You could still do it.
I'm thinking about it. Hearing that, I could just unlicensed, put on my little detective hat.
Yeah.
No, that might be offensive. I shouldn't do that. But
you could also be a medical examiner. You don't have to get a license to be a medical examiner. You could be a death investigator. Same thing. Medical examiner. Yep.
Well, that's all I needed. I mean, I'm unlicensed doing this.
Yeah.
And we've received emails of people burning divorce papers, like saying you guys have saved our marriage. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
My favorite ones to get are the "You inspired me to go to mortuary school."
Oh, I love that.
Or "You brought me peace." You've answered so many questions we've had about death. You brought me so much peace when my mom passed, or my dad passed, or my husband. I knew what to do. I knew who to call. I even had a message in my inbox the other day, and it was this girl, and her dad had died, and she was at a funeral home, and I knew I went to school with the funeral director that she worked with, and she was talking about me, and he's like,
Oh,
I went to school
wow.
with her. I loved her too. And yeah, that was small world.
Yeah, it really is.
I know.
It really is a small. That's such a soul fulfilling thing to hear. Like,
It's not about when I make content or when I do what I do. I never thought I would be here or wind up here. And it's where you have so many followers and the likes and the view counts are great, but that's not why we do what we do. If that's why we did what we do, we would be so depressed all the time because it's so up and down. And the reason that I do what I do is because of those messages.
Yeah.
And they just make you feel so good, and you start to feel like you belong somewhere and like you're making a difference. So the view counts and everything, I mean, that's great, but that's not the main. It's getting a message like you saved somebody's marriage. That's huge. That's so cool.
hearing women email in all the time and say, you know, I'm treating my husband better because of you. I am more comfortable in my feminine because of you. That shit gets me emotional.
Oh.
Hearing women say that they find themselves, that they're recognizing their self-worth because they see the confidence that I have.
I love that so much.
We get called mom and dad on the internet.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it too. People call me mommy, and that makes me uncomfortable because I feel like that's a fetish thing.
Oh.
Because I call my husband daddy. I do. I'm that woman. Oh, God.
But don't call me mommy.
It's different because he's my husband. Like,
So how do you feel about other women calling your husband daddy?
unacceptable.
Okay.
And during our interview with Ant, he had a moment where he was like, we can do like a daddy thing. I was like, I'm all here for that, but you're not calling him daddy. And he was like, okay, respected.
I just had to know. I had to ask.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny.
No, I will curb stomp somebody for that.
I will curb.
I am a very protective lioness. Do
I
not.
love that. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, man. And a thing I remember, the lawsuits. I wanted to go back to the lawsuits thing. I have not heard of that, the lawsuits happening because an insensitive thing was said, which makes sense why a lot more women are getting into the field. Mm-hmm. We're
Like,
nurturing.
We're meant to do this.
Right. We are built for compassion and empathy and dealing with the tears and the hard things. My husband has a very hard time with anybody crying. And I've heard a lot of men say that. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle somebody crying. They don't know how to be the empath in that moment. So I am super stoked to hear that more women are showing up in that field. I think it's going to change the game in a lot of ways, like you said. Mm-hmm. And automated robots don't have that compassion, that nurturing side. So I think you're right. It's something that can never be taken over by machine. The lawsuits, though, I have heard of funeral homes being sued because of bodies being on the property and not being buried.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being in business as a funeral home owner, I'll have people ask me all the time, like, "Oh, are you going to open your own funeral?" I'm like, "No, absolutely not, no." And they're like, "Well, why?" I'm like, "Because it's expensive to run a funeral home. I don't think people really realize how expensive it actually is, especially with the insurances you have, the property taxes, the upkeep for the building, the payroll. It is a lot. It's really expensive, and you can get upside down pretty damn quickly, like any business." And those funeral homes just got too upside down, too much in debt with the crematories. And so they do dirty things to keep going. Wow. And unfortunately, a lot of them don't get caught in time before it's too bad. Like that case right now in Colorado, where they found like 200 bodies.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I had people in my inbox. I was one of the first, I was on scene. I was here, I was there, and I saw that was just what they could count from the door. They don't even really know how many bodies are in there. Horrible. Absolutely horrible.
I wonder what someone has to tell themselves to be able to do that.
I think they have shut off their humanity switch at that point. They're just trying to make it through life and survive. And they just don't see them as human beings anymore. And that's horrible. And it's like a monstrosity, really. That's the only way I can comprehend it myself.
Wow. When I pass, I want to be buried next to a big oak tree or something. Like, I want to be in the middle of nowhere in a meadow where I can hear the wind and I love the look of wheatgrass. I don't even know if it's called wheatgrass. You see them at the beaches. The very tall
Pampas grass.
Pampas grass. Is that what that is?
They kind of, yeah.
Huh. We both learned something today.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of it in my front yard. if we
Oh, I
get some.
love that.
But it's like a grass. This is more grassy than what we have up in Wisconsin. But
I love the way it looks when wind's blowing through it and like golden hour when the sunlight's hitting it just right.
I don't mean to ruin all your dreams, but burying people at the base of a tree is really hard
Is it?
because there's so many roots and stuff.
Okay, I want to be planted with a seedling of a tree.
You do that.
I want to do that. That's easier, right? Because the roots aren't there. You just plant the tree and then it'll grow, and my body will be its. Oh my goodness, will be its nutrients.
Not to burst your bubble again.
That's what?
Not to burst your bubble again.
No,
Our bodies really aren't meant to like fertilize anything.
really.
It's. Have you seen those? There's like this concept that came out, and it's like a burial pod.
Okay.
And you put the body in, and then the tree's supposed to sprout out the top.
Yes.
That went super viral online. It's not real. It's just a concept. And so they're trying to make it more real, but you're better to like bury yourself in a field and then just put a tree on top and then fertilize the tree normally.
Okay.
Because our bodies really aren't meant to fertilize the trees. The decomposition that occurs isn't the best for the trees.
You told me that now. I'm like, I don't care if I'm just yeeted somewhere at this point.
I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. Sorry about that.
No, I'm glad you told me. I'd rather know that now than I believe in spirits. I do.
Yeet.
I believe that I am a soul within a vessel.
Oh, yep. 100%.
100%.
100%.
Because there are times where my body fails me where I know I should be capable of doing it.
Yep.
Like there are times where my hands just don't work and I drop shit.
Yep.
Absolutely unacceptable. What is happening?
Yep.
And there are times where I'm like uncomfortable with being alive. Like you're perceiving me right now and I don't like that. And there are times on the podcast where I've explained where I feel like I'm a little being inside of this piloting it.
Yep.
Like I am driving this vessel and I cannot wait until I'm out of it. Like there are times where I get out of his Mercedes and I feel like it's giving birth to me because I'm like getting out and standing up out of this car. And I can't wait to just get up and out of this. Oh, it's going to be so freeing. I don't even remember why I started bringing that up. What were we talking about?
The tree.
You telling me that it's not going to be able to be a thing.
And then we said we're going to yeet you in a ditch
so once I
somewhere.
finally shed this and I'm in my spirit form and I find out that my body is not going to do the thing I want it to do, I'm going to be devastated. I'd rather process that now and do something else with my body and be at peace with myself than feel like I got kicked in the nuts as a spirit. And then I just want to clarify the imagery for yeeting my body. I'm imagining someone holding one leg and one arm and doing like that spin.
I was imagining the exact same thing.
And just letting me go when I'm just spinning and landing wherever I land. Let the universe decide where my final resting space will be. I might write that into my will. I don't know. I'll think about it. They would need a very strong man to do that. Mm-hmm. A dead body weighs a lot.
Uh-huh. It's hard to maneuver them around.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, tables and things on wheels and stuff. But even then you have to be super careful, especially if you want to get them from one table to another.
Mm-hmm. Why do you have to be careful?
So both things are usually on wheels, or you might have your cot and you might go up to like the bed. Mm-hmm. And when you pull them over, usually you'll grab something that's underneath them to make it a little easier, but you don't want the two things that you're pulling them onto to separate. So you got to use your body to push it and then pull while you're pushing and pulling.
Oh, so you're leaning over the table.
Mm-hmm. And pulling them toward me. Can't push them onto it because then your table would go away.
Right.
So lots of gravity, lots of skills.
Yeah, that's where that skill set comes in. I'm imagining someone on like two rolly chairs and they're doing the splits.
That's
the kind of. I can see why you would have to build up a skill for that.
Yeah, it's nice when you have two people because somebody's grabbing the feet and pulling over, and then somebody's grabbing toward the head. The head is always the heavier end
because all the gunk up in the front.
Yeah, I guess it's just it's a lot heavier.
Yeah.
And sometimes you didn't ask this, but I'm going to tell you anyways.
I love it. Tell me.
So when I'm moving people over by myself,
that was gonna be a follow-up question. So you're just one step ahead.
Sometimes they'll make noise.
Okay.
And it scares the shit out of me every single time.
What kind of noise? Is it just air escaping? So I watch a lot of morbid videos. Like, I've gone down rabbit holes of shit. And I've heard somebody say that once that air escapes, because it's passing through the vocal cords, it does sound like groaning or...
Yep, it sounds like with the vocal cord. So it's not like it's
So it's that fluctuation. Bitch, no. Oh my gosh.
Scares the... Oh my gosh.
You're living in the jump scares.
Yep. So now anytime you just... I get prepared for it. Like, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And then it does. And you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad. But the first few times, your soul leaves your body.
I am imagining myself. I'm absolutely ridiculous. I'm imagining myself doing this, and the body will do it, and then I'll mimic it. Like, as a coping mechanism.
My heart just drops out each time. I'm like, okay, sorry. And then I'm just so focused. Even though they're no longer with us, I still find, I want to be as respectful as I can, and I don't want to drop them. So I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I 100% imagine myself talking to dead bodies.
Absolutely. Yep. It gets too lonely if you don't.
I imagine it would get lonely. I also want to still treat them like a human being. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to talk to you about my children. I'm going to tell you what I had for lunch today and how I was very disappointed in it, because always with delivery, it is not what it should be.
Yep.
And I know you've experienced it, Jem. It's just absolutely abysmal.
Yep.
So I want us to end this conversation with the podcast episode. I hate that we have to end this. I didn't think I would enjoy you as much as I have.
Oh, I love that.
Like, you've exceeded expectations. I hope I'm not making you uncomfortable with the gushing. I just want you to know that you are appreciated as a human being. I know that life can be hard at times, and you're a pretty dope person.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Rigor mortis.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work in trying to move bodies? So I know there is a time period of things for like rigor mortis kicking in and bloating and the pooling of the blood in the body and whatnot. How long do you have before the rigor mortis starts kicking in, and that makes it very difficult to do what you need to do?
Usually it's within hours, and then it can last hours. So it's a chemical reaction that the body does. It comes and then it goes. And if the body is in full rigor mortis, we might have to hold off on embalming. They might hold off on doing the autopsy until it passes. Depends on the pathologist. It can put a kink in your plans until it passes. And then even as it's passing, sometimes we have to help it along. Might have to bend the extremities while you're embalming. Might have to move the hands, stretch them out, help kind of do a little yoga,
Right. I mean, that makes
bend the
sense.
legs, and
Stretchy.
then, and then that helps kind of loosen things up, the muscles and stuff, so that we can get the embalming fluid to flow through the body better too.
Okay.
So rigor mortis can also be interesting if we go on a call and they're in full blown rigor mortis and we need to get them inside of this one size fits all body bag. And so we might have to bend things to try, not break them, but, just bend them accordingly to try to get them inside so that we can even get them from point A to point B.
Not my mind going, you just got to stuff it in
You
there.
just kind of,
Sit on the suitcase.
I'm so sorry, sir. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I apologize a lot.
Yeah.
just to get them to point A to point B.
I would be apologizing too.
Well, and I fully believe, and I've experienced it, that we are able to follow our bodies around after we die.
Oh, I believe that too.
So that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, yep. And so when I talk to them, I am really talking to them. Like, I know that they could be there and listening to me.
Next time we do this, we should talk about that.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
I've had spiritual experiences and whatnot, not to the extent that you have, because I mean, you're there probably within hours of something happening to somebody. That shit's fresh.
Yep.
And like any trauma, it will always be felt.
Yep.
Like the freshest, it's there. I hope that made sense. That was a lot for me to process just now. That was crazy. So I'm going to hit you with one question, and I'm going to hit you with one final question to end the podcast on. I'm almost certain it's something you've never been asked before.
Okay. This is good. This is good.
So first question, obesity in America, widespread. And I'm not talking about people being slightly overweight, like morbidly obese people. How does transport work like that? I've seen funeral homes that have caskets the size of king-size beds. So
that's a tough situation. I always say it depends. It depends on so many things. When we have people that are in excess of 500 to 600 pounds, we have to get super duper creative. So we do have, if you're in a metropolitan area, very busy place, there will be facilities that are just able to accommodate larger people. We have cots, like our equipment now goes up to, we have wider cots. We have, they're able to accommodate over 1,000 pounds.
Wow.
But even though they can accommodate that, you might have to have 2, 3, 4, 5 people. You might have to have the fire department come and help you get the cot out of your van. You might have to have them, we might have to use a larger receptacle for burial or for cremation.
Wow.
It really depends, and it's so hard. It can be hard on your back. It can be, if there's a lot of things can be hard on your back. I mean, you do so much lifting, but I mean, we just have to make sure that we're smart about it and get the help that we need. Ask for help.
Yeah.
But we can still accommodate anybody really of any size. Just got to get creative.
That's wild to me. Back in the 1800s, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So seeing the way that even just the food that we eat, we're eating food like products.
Yep.
McDonald's chicken nugget is not a chicken nugget. It is.
Yep. Yeah.
So seeing the way that we eat, the things that we eat, we can have eggs sitting in our fridge for 3 weeks at this point. I know. Like back in the day, you had to use that shit quick or you were waiting until the chicken laid again. The things that we eat, the way that our bodies change, everything in life for humans has changed, especially in America. And knowing that the whole death process has also been affected by all of that, that's crazy.
Yep. We have lifts kind of that go in the ceiling and they help us lift the person up. We have lots of little tricks that we can do to get them from point A to point B.
Are you ready for the final question?
Yes.
I know these things are not the same, that they are not the same. This is so stupid.
There's no stupid questions.
Would you say that a Charlie horse is the comparable living version of rigor mortis?
Oh, Charlie horses are horrible. Yeah, I've never had anybody ask me that before. I would say, yeah, where you, like, the muscle is so tight and you just can't even move it. Yeah, absolutely.
Like your foot is fixed in one position.
Yep, and it does not move.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we get to experience rigor mortis before we pass.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of stoked by that.
It's kind of cool. I've never thought about that
Right.
before. Now, every time I get a Charlie horse, I'm going to think of you. I'm going to think of rigor mortis.
Yep.
Thank you so much for that. And on that wonderful note, that was a great way to end that.
Yeah. So with that, thank you guys for joining us for this segment of The Garden. This has been an absolute blast.
This has been awesome.
Thank you so much for being here. I would love to do this again with you.
Yes, this was so great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, and yeah, you're wonderful too.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And I love the pink bear.